I feel wealthy in Thailand, but not in the US. And I know for a lot of you watching from the US, you're saying, what are you talking about? America has the #1 economy. We have the most powerful military. And these two things are true, but there's also some things that America leads at that provide the backdrop to this video. I'm gonna share those things with you shortly. And in this video, I'm gonna hop around a little bit, take you to the ocean, take you to the city streets of Bangkok, take you to a public park. But for now, the things that America leads at, other than being the world's #1 economy and having a strong military. Let me read these to you. America is #1 in obesity among developed nations. America leads in depression. It's among the highest reported depression rates globally. #1 in anxiety disorders. #1 in healthcare spending. America ranks last in outcomes, equity, and access to healthcare. #1 in violent crime among G7 countries. Gun-related homicides and overall violent crime. #1 in school shootings. No other country comes close. #1 for infant mortality for developed nations. #1 in homelessness among wealthy nations. #1 for drug overdose deaths, and it has the highest opiate-related death rate. #1 for income inequality for developed nations. #1 for incarceration. The US imprisons more people per capita than any other country. About 2 million people are incarcerated. That's the backdrop for this video, and it's really the reason why I feel more wealthy in Thailand compared to when I'm in the US. And it goes beyond money, because we know, if we're just talking about economy, that of course America is more wealthy than Thailand. But there's 12 other things that I find in my daily life in Thailand that also make me feel wealthy. The first thing, Thailand has a moral compass. It feels good to be in a place that practices faith. There's a moral framework. For example, stealing is frowned upon. At the heart of society is generosity, kindness, patience, humility, inner peace, and karma. And to me, it just creates a more healthy feeling in society where people are not consumed with politics, sports, or Costco being their preferred religion. There's not a lot of debate, friction, or confrontation, and it feels good to be in a society that everyone feels like one community, bonded together by faith or a moral compass. There's a thing called moral beauty, and that is when you observe kindness, politeness, resilience, people doing or giving their best every day. It inspires you to do the same. And I feel like almost everywhere I look in Thailand during the day in the street, I see resilience, politeness, and kindness. Interesting fact, 74% of Americans say America is more divided and polarized right now than it's ever been. The next way that I feel wealthy in Thailand compared to being in the US has to do with healthcare and the patient experience. I find that whether I go to the doctor or the dentist, the patient experience is better. I find the doctors more attentive, more patient, and I feel more empathy and cared for by Thai doctors and dentists compared to being in the US, where I feel like I'm on a conveyor belt. I pay $350 a month for insurance. I can go into an emergency room in Thailand and be seen by a doctor for a quick checkup, and cash out of pocket will be less than $30. Whereas in the US, we hear these nightmares of people who go to an emergency room and end up with thousands of dollars in debt. It feels good to go to a doctor without financial fear. Related to healthcare, I'd put wellness in that same bucket, or what I do almost 4 times a week, which is a 2-hour massage. And that helps me feel good, helps keep me in the gym. And I want to take you really quick to the cost comparison between a massage in Thailand to that in the US. What do I mean about value? About what you pay here, you get a lot back in return. Here's a good example. I'm getting a foot massage in the airport. 30 minutes, 250 baht. When I tried to do this in the US for 30 minutes, they wanted $75, or not including tip, would be about $100 for a 30-minute foot massage. Here I am getting my foot massage at the Bangkok airport for about $7 for 30 minutes. I can afford to do this every day of the month at the airport, which should be more expensive, but it's not. At US prices, I would never be able to afford daily massages, but I can afford them in Thailand. I feel like in Thailand, for what I'm paying for products or services, I'm always getting a lot back in return. I don't feel that in the US, and I call that, say, value in exchange for what you pay. And it doesn't only happen with massage, it also happens with food. So let me flash over to my food experience really quick in Thailand and show you what I get in return for what I pay. You can come out any night of the week and have a home-cooked meal that's truly like you're being prepared in someone's home with all the same attention and care and quality. So I'll come out here and like tonight I'm gonna have a little crab curry, but she really probably, it's like you're in her own kitchen. It's really special. So this is another way I feel more wealthy in Thailand than I do back home in the US, going out for some generic meal at a chain restaurant that doesn't have all this care and attention. How much does this beautiful meal cost for crab curry and all these beautiful fresh garden herbs and vegetables? 50 baht. So it's less than $2. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna show you guys more home cooking out here that feels like you're right in somebody's wonderful kitchen and getting a home cooked meal for a very affordable price. It just doesn't happen anymore in the United States. You can't do this. Back home, I feel like whatever I order, whenever I go out to eat, and what I get back in return, it feels like a ripoff. I'll go out to, let's just use an example, Chipotle, and spend $15 in Chipotle for a bowl that used to be $8 5 years ago. Now it's overpriced and the quality isn't as good. Here, I'm spending less than $2 for amazing fresh crab curry. And I'll see there's another footnote to how I feel more, a third thing, how I feel more wealthy in Thailand compared to the US. And I don't know how to put this into words, but I never feel lonely in Thailand. And I think part of it is the community. I can come out and eat, interact with people. There's a lot of good, positive energy in the air. I never feel lonely. Back home, I'm stuck in a car driving everywhere. People seem a little less joyful in most cases. They're going through the stress of their day. So it's just one other way, a third way. I feel more wealthy in Thailand when it comes to this type of experience. Going back to the market scene, going out to eat isn't a luxury, it's just a daily ritual. It's what happens every day in Thailand, and it feels good to go to a market like I showed you, where it's very community-based, and you feel a togetherness, and you have all this assortment of what's the equivalent of really home-cooked meals. The only thing I can equate it to, if we think about it in the US, some of our most favorite holidays have to do with food, which is Thanksgiving and 4th of July. And those are some of our favorite days in the US. And in Thailand, we have a 4th of July or Thanksgiving food-fueled day every day of the week. Cost of living in Thailand, it's not the cheapest in the world. There was a time where people would say it's super cheap. Now those people who were coming to Thailand to be super cheap are relocating to places like Vietnam, which is cheaper. Thailand prices have gone up, but still, the cost of living is much better than the US. There was a recent article published where Americans stated that $100,000 a year in salary wasn't enough to get by in 25 US cities. For the next part of this video, where I'm telling you why I feel more wealthy in Thailand compared to being in the US, I'm going to take you to a city park in Bangkok. Coming to you from Lumpini Park in Bangkok. Another way I feel more wealthy in Thailand than the US, I feel less isolated. I guess you could say kind of like loneliness. There's a recent report in the US that says 58% of Americans report feeling lonely often. And I think the key word there is often. It's human nature to feel lonely sometimes, but I rarely feel lonely in Thailand compared to when I'm in the US. And I think there's different reasons for that. I think one of them is immediately what hits me when I get back home to the US is I spend a lot of time driving in the car, And the way that the cities are designed, or towns are designed, it's just you hop in your car, you drive to a place, get out, do whatever you have to do, and then you're back in the car again. Whereas here, there's just a lot more human connection. I find myself not being in the car very often and just interacting with people a lot more. But the other part is, I think there's just more acceptance as a society of each other. No one really cares what your beliefs are in Thailand. They're still going to say hello to you. They're still going to smile and greet each other. Next stop, I'm going to leave the city park here for a minute for this vlog and take you to the ocean and talk about the American dream and consumerism. I feel wealthier with less in Thailand compared to the US. Let me explain this to you. I guess the best way to do it is to put up a chart on the screen there. And there's a thing called dukkha, or dissatisfaction, or unhappiness. And that bar rises the more we desire. So with what we have, if we don't desire much and we really enjoy a simple life and we love what we have, we're pretty much happy, joyful, content. The more we desire, the more we want, the less happy we become, the more suffering we attract. And that's American culture. I feel like American culture is obsessed with consumption, more. Always be buying stuff, always be going to Costco, always be going to Target. Whereas I don't feel that need in Thailand. As a matter of fact, it's part of the culture to keep that bar on the left, that bar labeled suffering or dukkha, to keep that lower and to enjoy what we have and to be grateful for what we have and embrace it and enjoy life. Wow. Ronaldo! How are you?
Huh?
How are you? Sorry cup.
Sorry, cup.
Sorry cup. Enjoy what we have and make that bar dukkha less, and you can see it with just simple joy, like we just saw with the kids, which can't talk about consumption and consumerism and wanting more without talking about the American dream. And I guess I shift on this quite a bit because there's still a lot of dreaming that can happen in the US, especially in regard to small business or starting a business. But the cornerstone of the American dream, we've been told, is owning a home, and I just don't feel like I want to own a home. I'm really happy renting a place here by the ocean and renting one in the city in Bangkok for just over $1,000. And I'm very comfortable. I have a lot of freedom, and I'm getting a lot more for that rent than I would get for buying a home in the suburbs of America or in a tiny little apartment in some city. I'm getting a lot more in return here in Thailand. I'm not a big believer in buying a home right now and being weighted down with the house payment, a mortgage, the responsibility, the maintenance, and being kind of isolated or living in maybe an area of a town that I really don't want to live and doesn't have a lot going on, that might be somewhat isolating. And the other thing I'm not burdened with, I feel like, is a car. So I don't have a car payment. If you look at the statistics in America right now, owning a car between payment and insurance and maintenance can be $1,200 to $2,000 a month. I'd rather put that money into other things, investments, invest in my own business, and exploring. So by not owning a home and by not being weighted down with financial strains like a house payment, a car payment, car insurance, I can go explore. And that's what I love doing in Asia. I love going all around Asia and hopping up to Tokyo and Osaka and go to Singapore or Macau or Hong Kong or Indonesia and Bali. And I can just take that money I'm saving on things that I would typically be told to buy in the US. I don't have to do that here. And there's a lot of literature that says the more we explore, the more we adventure, that the more we maintain this kind of flexibility, that we don't become rigid in life, that we keep our souls alive, that our brains are alive with curiosity. And to me, that's what feeling like a wealthy life is to do just that. Gonna stop here and grab a coconut. One coconut, please. Oh, it looks so nice. Wow. Thank you. Respect, but a little bit different. I mean like mutual respect, and more so that the default in Thailand, if you say hello to somebody, you're gonna get a hello back, and probably even a smile too. And that is an uplifting feeling. Whereas back home in the US, I'll say hello to people, and sometimes it's reciprocated, but a lot of times, I don't know, maybe somebody has too much stress going on in their life, and it's not reciprocated. But here in Thailand, it feels so good to be out in public, going for coffee, and just greeting somebody, hello, how are you? A smile, sawasdee krap, and it's reciprocated with the same warmth. So that feels very wealthy to me in Thailand compared to being in the US. And that kind of greeting is free. Being in a less violent culture feels good. It feels more wealthy. Here I am walking into a school. I picked this scene, why? Because there's not all the security at the gate to walk in, you just walk in. Because they're not all the gun violence and school shootings that we have in the US here. And I think as Americans, we never can lose sight of that fact, that America leads the world in school shootings. And there's an underlying reason for that. It's unhealthy, it's unwealthy. And having a non-violent culture is one more way my days feel more wealthy in Thailand. And it goes beyond school shootings. For example, never have to really worry about road rage or confrontation out in public where somebody might want to pick a fight, or somebody who wants to beat you up because they think you stole their parking spot at Target. That just doesn't happen here. They prioritize harmony and peace over confrontation. Being in a nonviolent culture, it's one more way I feel more wealthy in Thailand than I do in the US. Another way I feel wealthy in Thailand compared to the US, simple conveniences. So when I fly to Bangkok, I always have a Grab waiting for me. And I really enjoy not owning a car. This, to me, is kind of a luxury. It's kind of wealth. And don't have to worry about driving. Got a great guy here driving today. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. What's your name?
My name is Fu.
Fu?
Fu, F-U-L-L, Fu.
Fu. Yeah, so Fu's gonna take me into town. And it's perfect. Convenience at its best. I talked about it earlier in this video about the benefits of no car ownership, at least for me. And now I also enjoy not having a car because it's just so convenient to pull up to the airport and have a nice driver waiting for me. It's like a real luxury. It's a different kind of wealth. You go from the airport to Bangkok city center. It can be as low as $10 up to $15, and it's about 15 miles or less, just a little bit less, about 30 kilometers. And I enjoy it because I don't have to worry about driving, so I can pull out my laptop and get a little bit of work done. It's just a convenience. I like these conveniences in Thailand. This is one of them, where it just makes me feel more wealthy, where I don't have to worry about things like driving. And I think in the US, we get so preoccupied with car ownership as a status symbol, or as it defines us. And I think what defines me is having freedom of not having to drive, and freedom to do other things. While I would be driving, I can actually work on my laptop or get some stuff done. Next up, people sometimes talk about Thailand being third world. I'm gonna take you over to a shopping center called M-Sphere. So, Fu, we're on our way to Bangkok. Thank you for a nice ride today. A very nice driver from the airport, Fu. And now I am walking at a place called M-Sphere. I'm going to tell you another way I feel more wealthy in Thailand compared to the US. And that is the surroundings in Thailand, to me, are more uplifting than being in the US. And I know I said earlier in the video that in Thailand there's less materialism, less consumption, but there's still beautiful malls. A lot of people come here for events or to eat food, or of course you can do your shopping too. Uplifting surroundings though, I just feel like last time I was back home in the US, the air is a little bit heavy. People are a little bit fatigued and languished from a lot of drama. You don't get that here. I feel like the spirit in Thailand is just uplifting compared to being home in the US. And I think everywhere kind of has a collective energy of what the vibe is. And the more you're tuned into it, I think the more you are aware of it. And before I get to the next topic about why I feel wealthy in Thailand compared to the US, I'm going to say this. A lot of people back home who've never been to Thailand, they label it as third world or a developing country. And I'll tell you what, when you're here and you see some of the amenities in a city like Bangkok or in other parts of Thailand, in a lot of ways, it feels much nicer and cleaner and pleasant than anywhere in the US. So I don't think it's fair. I know the label third world is not a good label, and developing country to me isn't either, because in so many ways, I feel like Thailand's more wealthy than the US. That's why I'm making this video. I just feel more free to be me. There's less labels here, less polarization, and I guess just an overall more general accepting culture to each their own. Do whatever you want, and no one's trying to label it. And also free from the trap of how so many Americans get draped around by the media, and they're told the topic of the day and what to be angry about and what to argue about and what to focus their attention on. Yeah, I don't have that here. I'm aware of what's going on. I check the headlines, but I'm not consumed by it. Whereas a lot of times when I get on the phone with friends back home or family, they'll want to talk about, say, politics. And a lot of times I just change the subject. I'd rather talk about other things. Freedom. That kind of freedom. It's another way I feel more wealthy in Thailand compared to the US. The topic that so many YouTubers don't talk about, dating. I'm going to talk about dating, however you define dating, whether it's transactional, whether you're taking women out to dinner, whether you're trying to get married, whether you just want casual interactions, whatever that is. Dating in Thailand feels so wealthy compared to being in the US. There's a book I just read by Wim Hof, Iceman, the guy that goes into ice bath. He says how important it is as we get older as men to be sexually active. And a lot of guys back home in the US put that part of their soul and their spirit to rest. I mean, as early as 50 or even in their 40s. But you don't have to do that in Thailand. You have a lot of options to do whatever you want. And there's a new trend in the US right now with these multimillionaires like Elon Musk and DiCaprio. And I just read that Mick Jagger also. Okay, Mick Jagger's 80. He just married a 30-year-old. DiCaprio is over 50. He's notorious for dating women in their 20s. And people like Musk has multiple relationships, whatever you want to call them, a harem, with women that have kids for him. That's a very millionaire type of thing to do, multi-millionaire thing to do back home. You can do that in Thailand without being too financially restricted. You can pretend you're the multi-millionaire back home, and I actually think that the women in Thailand are the best in the world in regard to their souls, in regard to their physical beauty. They're the best in the world. Okay, got that topic off the shelf. It's one that I want to dive deeper into, and I will in a future video. So just call this the prelude, the topic about dating and a real wealthy lifestyle when it comes to encounters with females and the opposite sex in Thailand. It's quite fantastic, and it's one more way I feel more wealthy in Thailand compared to the US. If you told me I had to go back to the US right now and try to date, I wouldn't. I just turn that part of the brain off when I go home because it's just not worth it. You end up having to go to a dating site, and then, how do I say it? A lot of the women on there who are 3s or 4s think they're 10s, and they don't bring a lot to the table. And then they're asking us guys, what do you bring into the table? They have very high expectations, but they don't have a lot to offer in return. There's exceptions, and I think the ideal scenario, hands down, is for those of you who married your best friend and you're still together and you still feel great around each other, but you're the minority. 60% divorce rate, and of the 40% that are left over, I don't know if they're happy or not, maybe. But I'll tell you what, if you're going through a breakup, if you're going through a divorce, if you're just at a point in your life where you think this part of your soul has to go to bed and go to sleep, come to Thailand. And it will put everything in perspective really quick. It's another way I feel more wealthy in Thailand is dating, however you want to define that. Okay, last scene of this vlog, I'm taking you back to the ocean. Fresh coconut. How much did this cost? 60 baht, less than $2. I'm gonna set it right here and share with you kind of my final thoughts about why I feel wealthy in Thailand and not in the US. It comes down to feeling for me. How do I feel? And I feel better in Thailand. I feel better being in a society or in a place that doesn't put a big value on obtaining things and buying more things and needing happiness through money or through purchasing, because we all know that doesn't work. We all know people who spend a lot of money searching for joy or happiness, and it's not working. When I'm in Thailand, I feel like I can focus more on things like a growth mindset, meaning focusing on building my business, on working on my physical well-being, emotional well-being, and even studying or learning. And this environment is just more conducive for me to do so. I feel like as we get older, over 50, approaching 60, it's important to keep on playing, keep on exploring, keep on having fun, because I feel like some of that is being lost in America right now. And it just feels good to be free from all the things I talked about in this video. And by doing so, I feel more wealthy in Thailand than I do in the US. Everyone, I'll see you on the next video. Farewell from the beach of Thailand.